All right, this is our 2012 released free response question number 3, scoring. So we have our rubric, which you can download from AP Central. Remember, the first part is just this restatement of the problem. So here we're interested in the point breakdown. So part A was worth 2 points, part B was worth 2 points, part C was worth 3 points, and part D was worth 2 points. So let's see how we got our points. So in part A, it says, so first of all, we're going to look at the answers. G of 2 is -1/4, and G of -2 is pi over 2 minus 3 over 2. So our scoring is just for getting G of 2 and G of -2. So that means if I got this answer right and I got this answer right, then I got my full points. So I said that G of 2 was -1/4, so I got a point there. And I said that G of -2 is pi over 2 minus 3/2, so I got a point here. Now, they have shown a simplified answer. I would get the point if I left it here, but they've put the answer here. But what they mean is anything that would be equivalent to this mathematically gets you the point. So you're fine to stop here, but if you want to score yourself, you need to make sure that if I simplified this, I would indeed get that. So it looks like we got full points on part A. Part B is a 2-point question, and it's just straight here. We just get 1 point for getting G prime of -3, 1 point for G double prime of -3. I do need to show work, but the only thing I'm getting points for is this and that. And if I got those two numbers, I got 2 points, and that's it. I got 1 point there and 1 point there. And there's no justification needed because they didn't ask for any. That's part B. Now, part C. Part C, a little bit more complicated. There's more stuff to it. We had a lot more justification. So it's 3 points. Considers G prime of x equals 0. So this means, I think the way we are meant to understand that is we found where x equals -1 and x equals 1 is where our function, actually it should be G, isn't it? Where G has a horizontal tangent. So I think since I didn't write that it was G, that's a little tricky as to whether I get that point there or not. That's maybe a question. We have to refer to the judges on that one. Considers G prime of x equals 0 means that I found the 2 points where the derivative was equal to 0. Normally this means if I just write G prime of x equals 0, that I would get that point. If G prime of x equals 0, then I'm going to get that point for considering that. I didn't write that, but my work implies it because I came up with the 2 points where G prime is equal to 0. So I'm a little confused as to how to read that, but I think that if somehow we consider that the derivative was 0, we're going to get that point. I think that I'm going to lose that point because I said f has a horizontal tangent. I don't think that's really that point, but that one's a little hard to interpret in the context here. X equals -1 and x equals 1, I got those two, so I got 1 point for getting those two. And my answers with justifications, I said it has a relative max, and by the way, so this says, let's read what it says here. The graph has a horizontal tangent line where G prime of x equals 0 equals f of x equals 0. This occurs at x equals -1 and x equals 1. That's what they meant by this. And I'm still having a hard time getting quite how what I've written here corresponds to that. Or I think the fact that I got the answers implies that I did that. G prime of x changes sign from positive to negative. This is what I said here. G prime changes from positive to negative. Therefore, G has a relative maximum. G is a relative maximum. So the relative maximum is what they mean by the answer. And this part here is what's meant by justification. So I get this 1 point. This 1 point covers that I got both answers right and both justifications. So all of this right here was worth exactly 1 point. But I had to get all of it. If I had gotten this right, this right, this right, but I didn't have the justification here, I would lose this whole point. So I need to make sure that I have that relative maximum at x equals -1. Because G prime changes sign, I need to have it's neither a relative maximum or relative minimum at x equals 1, neither a relative maximum or minimum at x equals 1, because G prime does not change sign. I have to say 4 things to get that 1 point. But I'm a little unclear as to whether I'm going to get this G prime point. And I think because I put F instead of G, we're going to lose me a point there. So I only got 2 points on part 3. Part C. Now, part D. The graph of G has a point of inflection at each of x equals -2, x equals 0, and x equals 1. Now I said x equals -1 because G double prime of x, which is equal to f prime of x, that's what we said, changes sign. Boy, what if I did this whole thing? Oh, all right. So they're using a different justification. They're saying G double prime changes sign. I said G prime changes from increasing to decreasing, which is mathematically equivalent to G double prime changing sign, because the sign of G double prime determines whether G prime increases or decreases. So the fact that G double prime changes sign is mathematically equivalent to G prime changes from increasing to decreasing. So I'm going to give myself that explanation point. I'll give myself that. Now, I'm a little curious about the x equals -2. And I guess I see what I did, that if we look back at the coordinates, I said this was x equals -1 right here. So this is on my original graph. And I said that x equals -1, but in fact, if I read the graph, this is x equals -1, and this was x equals -2. So because I was a little bit off on my x-axis here, that means that I lost this one. Now, in terms of the scoring, this one's right, this one's right, this one's wrong. But the point for the answer comes from getting all 3 of those. And I did not get all 3 of them. I missed one. I got one of them wrong. It was supposed to be x equals -2. Therefore, I get 0 points, and it benefits me nothing that I had 2 of them right. But now notice that even though my points are wrong, my explanation of them is correct. So I still get the explanation point, even though I lost the answer point. So it looks to me like out of my 9 points, I lost 2, so I got a 7 out of 9. That's not too bad for a novice.